All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Another Wednesday live stream here. I realized it is April 1st, and on the first of the month, I tend to do, for subscribers to a Shifty plan, I send them what's called like a monthly shift. And this is really like a curated refactor. It's something very specific. So, for like example, at the beginning of the year, I think there was something that adopted attributes, maybe it was. I don't remember, actually. It's a very curated thing that it does. I could go look it up, actually. Let's just go look it up. Let's get a real example, right? So, laravelshift.com. So, of course, I am a subscriber. So, let's say in all, let's get my little chat window out of the way. So, let's say merged shift. There's probably a bunch of these, but here we go. Here's a monthly shift here. Where's way back in January? There we go. There's another monthly shift there. So this did like redirection helpers and response assertions. So like just some real quick stuff like to route, I think here you go. So again, very, very specific curated refactor. So if you're a subscriber to a Shifty plan, it allows you to run shifts for kind of like one set price, all the latest shifts and so forth like that. But also as a benefit, you get access to like the workbench and other kind of refactors. But to kind of make shift a little bit more like push instead of pull, right? You also now kind of get these even more curated refactors. And you can go run these yourself, but if you don't know about them, like you don't know about them, right? So like instead, I thought, instead of you going out to the workbench and kind of running this particular task and kind of knowing it exists and knowing to run it, every month, the first of the month, I just send you one of these. If you like it, merge it. I did. If you don't, you can just close it, right? And it normally adopts like latest conventions and helpers and things of that nature. So the point is, it is now April 1st. I was so focused on the Laravel 13 shift that I have not made one for April 1st. So ideally, I'd like that to go out today, being April 1st. So here was January's, here's was February. I didn't do one in March because the Laravel 13 shift release. So I don't want to create like a lot of noise. So kind of like when you're not upgrading, these happen on the first of the month. So here's the one that happened in February. Again, I merged this. I'd already done this a lot myself, but basically like it's, this was shorthand using a lot of the blade directives. There's so many blade directives that I think Laravel developers don't know about, don't utilize. So it kind of goes in and does its best to kind of pick up all of those. So this month, what I thought, and a lot of these stem from like something I would want to refactor. And again, several of them exist in the workbench. So if we go to like laravelshift.com, what I mean by the workbench is the workbench has like all of these kind of automated tasks, very specific to Laravel, but you can see here, like, here's all sorts of stuff. And a majority of these are free. There are a few premium tasks. There's maybe 20 premium tasks. There's probably 60 in total. So 40 of these, are free tasks. You can just go out here, sign in a shift and run. You can think of them a lot. If you're familiar with something like Rector, you can think of them kind of like Rector, like rectors or little refactoring tasks. The thing to remember about Shift is, it's going on its 11th year. So when I built Shift and I built the workbench and things like this, things like Rector and PHP Stan and all these other things, they didn't exist. So, that's kind of the birth of this. So yeah, you could go run a Rector if you want to figure out the install and the dependencies and create the config and find all the rules and whatever. These are also a little more focused, again, on Laravel, not just PHP in general. But you can think of them very much like a refactor in that regard, a Rector or a PHP Stan automation fix. Again, very curated, very isolated, very specific thing to go out here and do. The one I want to focus on and build today is this. For a while now, let's find an example. Yeah, this rule object, right? This like kind of fluent rule object. It's been around for a while, but over the years, like more and more gets added to it. So I want to make an isolated, monthly shift that does this. So let's get into the code. We'll do this. I jumped into like ChatGPT. I had it parse this page and give me like the before and afters for kind of the string based versus the actual rule. So basically we're going to set up a new shift. We'll set up a new task, and then I'm probably just going to have Claude take a first pass at like refactoring all of these. See what it does, right? See what it gives me. So let's go into Shift. Yes. So let's do get checkout -b. We'll call this April April monthly. We'll just call this April 26, right? I'm going to kill this branch anyway. It doesn't really matter. So let's go to PHP Storm. Take a look here. Hey, Wilson, how's it going? Thanks for joining live. Who else we got on here? Hello, everyone. Not too many live today. We had a bunch last week. I feel like people like ramp into mine. Kind of starts out slow, and then like I'll look and then be like, oh, 100 people, cool. But yeah, anyway, thank you for joining live. Now, I already have this monthly shift, and then basically each month I kind of just like swap out its tasks. So let me go find it. I'll build the task that I think we want, and then we'll kind of talk to Claude and have it review this markdown file, see how well it does. So let's go to shifts, Laravel, and then I think I have like a monthly shift. Yeah, there we go. Oh, Mr. iMac, you are humming. Okay, so again, if you've watched any of the streams before, especially where I've kind of built a shift live, this is basically how it works. It has this, what I call registry class, and it basically just gives you information about a particular shift. So in this case, it's a monthly shift. It's a little more dynamic than some of the other shifts in the fact that like it gets reused each month, whereas the Laravel 13 shift it's just that always forever. So this one's a little bit dynamic, unlike the other ones, but it's pretty basic. It's just a super simple registry, like almost DTO kind of class. I'm really only calling it a registry because it builds out this task pipeline. And what this task pipeline does is kind of iterate through each of the tasks, and it performs the automation in isolation. So this is last month's February, and it did like the blade directives, right? And I kind of put these tasks under Laravel monthly. So we're going to make another one today called validation rule. So we'll generate this. And let's go ahead and kind of build it out just a little bit for Claude so it knows like what it is and I can point to it just a little easier. It could make all this, but I just like kind of getting the feel for how I would want this to work as well. Nope, not that. Thank you. All right, so basically a task is kind of the atomic object that's actually going to do the stuff. You can think of it like a job in Laravel. It's got like a handle method. In this case, I call it perform. So it performs the task. But that's basically where the automation lives, is kind of down here in this implementation. And then it can leave a commit. This is those nice atomic commits that you see in PR. So we'll say something here like adopt validation rule. We'll change that later once I kind of see it, but let's just put something out there now. So the point here is that this validation rule is this atomic class that's going to basically go in and kind of parse and read all of those kind of things. There's one more thing I want to do on this shift, so we will do this apply code style, but I don't know what the task is called off the top of my head. I'm trying to think of what does it. I bet you the Laravel fixer does this refactor. There's a refactor that I have that basically goes in and it makes sure that any string-based validation rules inside of form requests are converted into their array equivalent. So instead of like this pipe and filter kind of string, you get an array of individual elements. I think doing that's going to make it a little bit easier to parse. So what we can do is pre-run that, and And then that way we know when we run our validation rule that it can just analyze elements in an array. So again, just a little bit of pre-work here to kind of like make it where Claude's not doing everything and I burn through like 1,000 tokens when I know it's kind of doing the wrong thing. So somewhere in here, not the wrong thing, but it's doing something that like I don't need it to do. Let's see here, form request array. Okay, so public function rules, form request string finder. Okay. So this is going to find all rules, and it's going to make sure it's a form request. It's going to go through the rules. It's going to break up the lines, and it's going to. Okay, so this is what I want. This is what I want. So let's take this, and does this have a commit? Where are you, commit? There you are. This should be at the top. There we go. Cool. Okay, I can live with that. So let's go back here and we will plop that in first. So again, now we can trust that the form requests have already been parsed out and they're broken into the array syntax. We can trust that. We don't have to worry about like piping out a filter. So everything's here. I think everything here is good. It's in place for Claude. I think, I'm just trying to think if there's anything else here. This is automatic, latest Laravel version. That really shouldn't matter. I don't think this gets used anywhere. I think I'm gonna make that null because this shouldn't be dependent upon a version. Validation, there were no, like, to my knowledge, there were no new validation rules added in Laravel 13. So I think Laravel 12 and earlier shifts are fine. Again, that's a little bit more for the upgrade shifts to pull the latest version. This isn't version specific is really the point. Okay, let's go run Pint. Or well, first of all, let's do composer update. I don't think I've worked on this project on my iMac in a while. So let's get that cranked. All right, cool. And then let's run vendor bin Pint. I think my global Pint is a higher version, so let's just run that. That's gonna take a second. A lot of files. What else do we need here? Let's go look at that Laravel validation rules. Okay, so this is what ChatGPT gave me. I just pointed at the docs and I said, give me all of the validation rules that have the rule object, like have a rule object equivalent in their examples. So I just want to kind of scroll through these for a second while my iMac's gonna prepare for takeoff. So we got date rules, rule date, so date after start date, rule date after start date. I need to verify some of the syntax here. I've noticed this when working on Laravel 13 a little bit more with AI this year. It makes some assumptions about what you can actually pass here. I don't know if you can pass that or not. So we'll probably want to verify these. So here we go. Required date after or equal to today, after or equal to today, wonderful. Okay, so that one feels pretty good. Before, that feels good. So when they're constants, it feels good. I'm a little curious if you can pass in a reference to another field. I don't know if you can do that or not. I've never done that. So yeah, format, all these are looking good. So yeah, these are good ones. Exists, I really like the exists one. Yeah, unique. Ins, I think in is so much better. Not in, so much better. Required if. This is where it's a little bit interesting. Okay, so request admin. I wonder, yeah, that's interesting. I don't feel like that one's so smooth. Personally speaking. Okay, all fine, whatever. Required enum status, I do like that one. That one's nice. The password one's cool. Min. Okay, so if it knows it's a password field, that's pretty nice. That's pretty nice. Rule array of. Logical comparisons. Any of. After only. Any of. String alpha. String alpha. Any of. If it's that after only is kind of interesting. Any of. Let's go look. Rule any of. There is no previous equivalent to this. So I think we could kill that one. Okay, fair enough. Is this it? Is that all the rules that there are? Let's do rule on this page and just see here. So any of date, we got a lot of the date ones. The date one's going to be the big one. Contains, where's contains? Contains and doesn't contains. Is that not in here? See, this is why you check it. This is why you check it. I'm very surprised. That's a low-hanging fruit here. I mean, look at this. This is very simple. I look at the page and do rule : : and I've already found 3 more than ChatGPT did when it went through here. It's pretty lame. Okay, let's see here. Oh, so contains and doesn't contain. Fine. Let's set these examples up as well. All right. So let's do. What do they got? Dashes between each. Okay, fine. It's a little bit annoying, but fine. All right, let's set up some more. Again, I think you could just point it at the page and say, go do it, parse the page or whatever, but clearly it's missing a few. So let's go through it here. Let's say contains rule. And we'll do this. Example, we don't need that. Example, and then let's put in the required crap. Required. All right. Bar baz. And this will be rule contains foo bar baz. All right, good enough. And then what did they do for the doesn't? Prohibited if, required if, not in. Yeah. We'll just put another one here. And what is that called? Doesn't contain? Doesn't contain. It's a crappy. I can't copy it. Doesn't contain. Doesn't contain. You know, for all of like the eloquence and wordsmith that Taylor puts into the framework, wonderful stuff, I've just never gotten used to doesn't. I don't know why. It doesn't look good, right? Like, I don't know. Some of them are not, and I appreciate that's technical, so I appreciate doesn't is a little more human. But yeah, I don't know why. I just that doesn't doesn't look good. I don't know what the alternative is off the top of my head, but I've never gotten used to them. Okay, what did we say the next one was? No, we already did that. Okay, so let's find more rules. So date. Okay, dimensions. This is starting to get a little bit annoying. How many more are these? I might just ask ChatGPT to do a better freaking job. Here's email. So we got enum, that's good. So we're missing the dimensions, we're missing email. It got exclude if. Exclude unless. It got exists. And again, these might need some tweaking, but it got not in. Prohibited if. prohibited unless, I think it got that as well, required if, required unless. And then the string builders, it missed a lot of the string builders. Okay, so dimensions, email, and string, it seemed to have missed. Let's have it do a better job there. I use ChatGPT for like, I use ChatGPT for like a lot of personal questions. So let me sign in first before we, that's kind of why I did it before the stream. But since it missed so many, we're gonna ask it to do a better job. Let me make sure like we're not landing on some chat history where I asked it about like the best business credit card or whatever, which was a recent search. Okay, ChatGPT, what do you got? All right, let me copy the link to the page again. What's going on here? Streaming error. Oh. Okay. Seemed like my Twitter stream dropped. Sorry, people. Okay, let's... Seems you missed examples for image dimensions, email, and string before and after rule examples. Can you scan this page again and give me those in Markdown? Markdown. All right. All right, give me the freaking download. Thanks. Just give me these examples as a downloadable Markdown file. Since Twitter dropped, we're just gonna stay full screen me for a second because I feel like only 2 people are left on the stream since we dropped Twitter somehow. Okay. I guess I could probably just copy that. Let's just copy it. All right. I think we're pretty good here. Let me close ChatGPT. I don't want you to merge the earlier file. All right, back to everyone. All right, cool. Well, whoever's still left, hang out with me for a bit longer. Yeah, I don't know why my streaming, I use Ecamm, and it seemed like, I've never seen that message before. It dropped Twitter. So either I had a temporary internet collapse or Twitter had a minor outage or what. If I kill the stream, I kill it for everyone. So I'm just gonna keep going. You know, sucks I dropped Twitter because I know I get more people that come in through there, but let's fire up Claude. Okay, so now we have this fuller markdown file and it's got all these examples. So basically we're gonna say, yo Claude, like I made this task. I want you to look at this markdown file of before and after examples, make fixtures, build the task. Because I've got like some pretty good, this is not a Laravel project, so I don't have Boost, but I've spent some time over the last several months like refining my like guidelines, my AI guidelines. So it should be pretty good at like writing the test the way I want, familiar with the Laravel testing harness, or sorry, the shift testing harness, like building it out, using the AST parsers that I have and all that kind of stuff. So, all right, so let's get into Claude and say, I want to fill out the code. I do normally use Whisper, but we're just gonna type it up. So I want to fill out the code for this new task. All right, where are you, new task? You are here. You may use the examples. Let me close the chat here so I can see everything. You may use the before and after examples in this markdown file to create a test, to create the various test fixtures. Oh, you know, I'm a little worried though. What I don't like is that this is already in this pipe and filter bit. I really don't like that. Let's finish prompting for a second. All right, what else do we kind of need to tell it? Essentially, we are reviewing the validation rules within a form request and converting those with rule, with expressive rule alternatives. The markdown file is pretty exhaustive. I'm sure we could probably just tell it like, but again, I've found better results if I just take a few more minutes to like dial this in. You may assume the validation rules are individual elements in an array and not pipe delimited strings. For example, okay, let's try to fix these real quick. I'm curious if I just like find all these on the page, how many is it gonna mess up? So if I do backspace, quote, 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 and then I go to the end of the line, and I go over, let's see how crappily that did. Okay, that one's okay. That one's okay. 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 All right. Yeah, all right. All right. I mean, I'm assuming that's the only place the pipe is on the page. These are looking pretty good. Oh. Oh, this one didn't have a pipe at all. I get it. So this is really just a full-on array. All right. Same thing here. Fine. Same thing for all of these, I suppose. Okay, cool. Got that one. Got that one. That one was already good, I think. Yes. Looking good. I wonder why these, oh, those have better highlights than the others. It's interesting. I think these are pretty good. Okay, so let's give it the example of like, let's just give it this example. So for example, blah instead of required date. All right, what else do we want to tell it? Also note that some rules are compound. For example, yeah, this is kind of both the date and after are used to determine the proper expressive rule. I'm trying to think of anything else we want to tell it. It doesn't feel like I'm giving it a whole lot. I mean, I'm giving it some specifics on things that I think it might get tripped up on just from using Claude to generate these bits of automation. But I think this is a good start. Let's let it get after it for a second. And we'll kind of see where it lands. I feel like there's something I'm missing though. There is something I want to go check while this is churning, but let me make sure I'm logged in on the Mac first. It didn't ask me to log in, so I think we're good. Okay, what I want to do actually is I want to jump over to Laravel Shift. And let's close everything. Close all, and let's get into form requests. Let's just do something simple. Build store request. That is not as simple as I thought. Okay, let's do update preference, update team name. There we go, simple enough. What I wanted to check was this other example. So like ran at. I'm curious, yeah, rule required. I'm curious if we do rule date. Let's bring this in. I'm trying to look at the signature for like after date yesterday. Okay, so can after ensure date is after the given date or date field. Okay, string date. Okay, it just builds. Okay, so this format date. If date is an instance of date time, then format it. Otherwise, it's date. See, all these rule objects really do is just like put it back down into the piped string format. So I think you're okay to pass in some rather interesting stuff, some simple stuff. So I think we're okay, like in those examples where it did like after start date. I think that's a fair. I think that's an accurate thing to say. There was another one though. What was the other one? It was like prohibited. Prohibited if. What can this take? Prohibited if. Oh, it's always a callback. Is that true? Instance of closure or is bool. Condition. Condition equals condition. And must be a callable or boolean. Okay. Okay. So this, you can't say something like admin. You could say something like request, you know, has admin. You could do something like that. I don't think this particular refactor is going to be that intelligent. I think it wrapping it could be good. All right, let me check if there's a test file. No, there's not. Go get it. All right, it's getting after it. We'll see what it churns out. Okay, I think this is good. Let's go back to where we were. We'll kind of take a peek. Doesn't seem like it's generated anything yet. It's still thinking, combobulating, flamboying. Flambeau. All right, cool. Let's see if there's anything going on in the chat. No, because we lost all of our people. You can also use the @ symbol if you prefer a specific file. Oh, like when I'm prompting? Yeah. I've seen that before. Gotcha. All right. Well, let's let it flamblay. Explore. Okay, it's exploring stuff. 50,000 tokens. Go get them. Hasn't generated anything yet. I think while I'm waiting, let's go look at the finders. These are the abstract. This is what uses like Nickix parser, array element finder. There we go. I meant to look at this beforehand. key value. I might need a beefier version of this. I wonder where this is used. Emit. Oh, that's the live? I think that's the Livewire stuff. Yeah, Livewire 3. Emit. Yes. Okay. Does this find all of them? Finds the instances of array item and then gives you each one back. Key value. This one's a little bit tricky because it's like, it's an array of arrays. So this thing would give you back like a lot of stuff without a whole lot of structure, because it would just find each array item in the nested arrays and you'd get back like, you know, in one of these examples where you had a validation rule, instead of getting one validation rule back with two child, you know, rules, you would get 3 array elements back. And that is correct, but you lose the hierarchy of the rules, kind of the parent-child relationship. So really probably what needs to happen is I need to make like, an array, like an array finder. And if it's inside of an array, it won't nest. It'd be very, very specific. It'd probably be much more like this config options finder. Yeah. It finds a return value with an array. It'd be very, very close to this config. It'd be much closer to this config options parser than it would the other way around. Yeah, options get values. And I think this is recursive. Yeah, if it's an array, it goes deeper, it goes deeper, it goes deeper. Yeah. Yeah, it recurses. It'd be much more like this config options finder than it would. We'll see what Claude cranks out. Yeah. Internal server error. Okay. That's cute. API error. Man, everybody's having some outages today. Is something down while I'm streaming? I lost my Twitter thing. Claude's cranking out. Okay, interesting. Let me look at the Nikic parser and a finder that might return per item line info. Cooked for 5 minutes. It was very Laravel-esque. Cooked. Okay. Please try to continue. Let's see. Let's tell it. You know what? Let's go ahead and tell it. Well, I'm kind of curious where it goes. Again, I can already tell it's going down the wrong road. Just looking at the segment and replace segment. I don't like that it's getting into models file. That's not the way I would build it. So I think we might want to guide it a bit more. This is the difference between like planning mode and build mode. I normally just let it generate code and just kind of iterate on it. Because again, I kind of already know. I mean, I'm so intimately familiar with this code base. I know exactly how I want it to build. I'm not just like vibe coding something I know nothing about. Like I know how I would build this. I'm just using AI to do it faster. Instead of it taking me an afternoon to write this, you know, Claude can probably kick this out in 20 minutes. If I give it the right guidance. So I could put it into plan mode and let it figure this out and then keep tweaking it. But we kind of already did the pre-planning because we know exactly the way we want it to go. The only thing I missed was the finder. I should have looked at that before we sent it off. So let's pause this. I think the best approach would be to copy let's copy this and repurpose it to parse the validation rules returned within the rule method of the form request object. Then you could use the string offsets for each rule element you want to convert, or each validation. Let's see where it goes with that. That's the way I would go. What I've found with AI, again, unless you're doing something completely greenfield and unknown and it's kind of just like this educational journey or vibe code or whatever they call it, like if you know what you want, to me this is akin to like having like a junior dev on the team. You got to take some time to like put the developer on the right path and then kind of let them fail a little bit, because that's how they learn. Now AI is getting better and better and better, so I'm not necessarily saying AI is equivalent of a junior dev. I think it is without any guidance. I think the guidance comes from what we're doing now, the depth of the prompting or the plan mode, and then over time your rule set, and then also the fact that like, you know, every model they release is getting better and better and better. So like I've seen this one-shot stuff with very, very minimal effort. But this is a pretty complex, comprehensive piece of automation that it doesn't have the knowledge about. You know, it hasn't scanned the documents, it hasn't written Laravel for 10 years. Like, does it have a depth of knowledge if we pointed it in the right direction? Yes. But if you kind of dig into like how these models work, you'll hear a lot of people talk about that. Like, there is a lot of bias when you prompt it. It kind of gets put on a path based on what you say. It's not looking, it doesn't have the compute to look at like everything, right? That's the whole like think harder bit. At least that's been my experience. So I don't need it to think harder here. I just need it to kind of go on this path that I want it to go on. And it might have gotten there on its own if I let it, you know, scampering for 5 more minutes and burn through some more tokens. But in the interest of time for everyone, I'm trying to guide it the way I would build this. The way I would build this is I would find all rules, just like this other class. We can go look at this other class. I don't need to be like hypothetical. Let's go look. Let's go back to that, our new monthly shift. If we look at this, this is exactly how I would build this. And I probably should point it at this too as a reference. But basically, yeah, we would find this. And, you know, this is kind of close. Actually, return statement array. We might even be able to get away with this if we prompt it out a little bit more. Is this smart enough to... See, this isn't smart enough to do recursive bits. But again, this is close. You can see here that like the config option finder, this request thing, these are pretty close. The only thing this is missing is like the recursion, which the other one has. So I think the other one's probably pretty good. The other thing I noticed that this is missing is this is line based instead of string offset based. I can tell this is kind of an old finder because that's the way I used to write them. And then I found out that like messing with the precise string is way more surgical. And so that's kind of the way I build them now. And then we have a method finder. So it effectively parses the class, it makes sure it's a form request, it parses out the methods, makes sure it does indeed have a rule method. So like, this is what I do. I kind of systematically filter down to make sure that I'm like having a really high fidelity on the change, right? I can make sure that like, this is actually the change I want to make. So I cast a wide net right away and I say, look, you got to have a public function rules if I'm interested in a form request object validation rules. This is what you have to have. By the laws of Laravel, that is what it has to be. It has to have this signature. Then, once I've filtered that, instead of parsing your entire PHP bits of code, 10,000 files in some projects, like I've at least cast a net to roughly filter down a smaller subset of that. You know, not all 10,000 of your files are going to be form requests, right? Once I have that, then I can parse your class actually through the syntax tree and make sure, okay, you extend form request, you have a rules method, and then we parse that particular rules method to get the return statements. You know, if you don't have a return statement somehow, then I don't know what you're doing in that rule thing. Again, it's not conventional, so we're just going to skip it. And then at that point, we start messing with the actual segments to play around with it. So I would expect what it built to be very, very, very similar to this, with really just two simple changes. More string offset based, and then probably just copy the finder and make sure that it allowed, you know, the nesting. So I only ever got the top level elements, top level rules, and not all the sub item arrays. So let's see, you know, I don't know how long this is going to take. This could take 20 minutes and then headshot it. I don't know. Now let's see a task offset based approach. Okay, let me look at the no-op fixture. Fine. We'll let it churn for like 3 or 4 more minutes. But yeah, kind of going back to the thing, like, had I built this without AI, I probably would have copied this file, copied this task, made the adjustments that I knew it needed, and then copied the finder. And then it would have been slow. It would have been slow to like say, okay, if you have date and if you have after, you know, put them together to make the rule. That's where I really, really want AI. So I think, I don't know how long this will take, you know, again, it's kind of black box. It could take 2 more minutes and then it's definitely worth it. But if it takes 20 minutes, my point about the junior dev analogy and the setup is that I probably could have taken 5 more minutes to copy the files that I just was talking about, give them the tweaks in the right direction, and then told it in that initial prompt to say, use this, fill this out, here's the test fixtures, go do it. And maybe it only would have taken 3 minutes to do that, right? We'll see. It's still doing work for me, but I find it, I'm very skeptic of people that say, oh, you know, AI is 50x, you know, it makes me 50 times faster. Like, maybe on one very, very specific, you know, mundane task that's just impossible to like speed, you know, type or copy paste or whatever. There's no shortcutting. Like, you just have to like review like 10,000 lines of something. Fine. Absolutely. I can understand that that's 50x, but on a whole, like, I don't think you're getting that multiple. I mean, that 50x is like you 1 hour and you do a week's worth of work, you know, 1 week and you do, you know, a year of work. In a year, you could do 50 years of work. Like, that doesn't, the math doesn't math. There's no way you scale that way. Again, greenfield something, if you're factoring everything in, like if I wanted to go write something in Rust, I don't know Rust. So like maybe then I'm 50x, but you kind of catch up to that at some point. That curve, you know, that curve kind of shallows at some point. So I definitely think AI is helpful, but kind of what we're talking about here, this like very, very focused domain specific kind of task, it'll crush it once we get it in the right direction. But, you know, we're 8.5 minutes in here, and I don't even know if it's going the right way. Now, again, plan mode maybe would have helped or whatever, but I think I could have copied those 2 files, added it to my original prompt, and, like, I think it would have cranked it out. Something else that I noticed that it does a good job, and this takes a little more setup, but sometimes if I have it, yeah, see, now look at this. I'm about to bump up against my pro plan limit. I just did. Great. I've hit my limit. I noticed this too lately. I know they changed their pricing model in like the last week or something, but now I'm hitting this like every day. I wasn't hitting this at all before, like 2 weeks ago. And now it's like anytime I give it a somewhat complex task, I hit my limit. All the more reason, again, that pre-planning, you know? It might have been worth it to me to spend like 5 more minutes and push it in the right direction. Because now I'm nowhere and I've burned 9 minutes and I'm nowhere other than like having to pay more money. I have a pro plan. Should be pretty decent. Let's stop and wait. Did it actually even write anything for me? It did not. So we got nothing. We churned for 8 minutes and you heard me opine about, and we got nothing. We got no code. All it did was calculate a bunch of stuff and never generate anything. Which it'll probably have to recalculate when I like go back. That's lame. Okay, so, yeah. I talked about this a few weeks ago, and I think that Mo guy on Twitter, he makes a lot of videos about AI. It's kind of made me lazy in the last couple months. I was ready to just take this prompt and throw it over the fence and have it crank it all out. And now we're in this place where, like, again, I'm feeling, especially as these limits and the money starts cranking up for these, I'm not like a big like paranoia vendor buy-in person. But I think they really kind of, they trained us in a way to like crank out code and like, this is awesome. And now they're kind of like backing that off a little bit. And you're like, oh crap, well, I don't want to write this on my own. It's kind of, I think the Mo guy talked about it being like an addiction, like a drug in a way. You know, because your brain looks for shortcuts, right? That's just human nature. And so again, instead of me kind of pushing this in a certain direction, you know, now I'd just rather wait and have AI try to do it again in a couple hours, or go shell out the money. Right? They got me. So yeah. Anyway, so this basically turned into a bit of a philosophical conversation, one-sided conversation about AI. We didn't really have much code generated here other than what I wrote myself. So to that point, I think we're going to end the stream here. I am going to copy those two classes as I wait for my rate limit to clear at noon. What time is it? It's like 30 minutes. I can do that. So I think what I'm going to do in the next 30 minutes is I'm going to build out the finder and the basis of the class and go from there. And I might switch over to open code and have it generate the test cases. That's what I might do. That way Claude can really, I think Claude's better at generating code. I'm totally fine to use a free model to generate the test fixtures. And I think that would bring down the problem set for Claude a lot and probably not bump me up against my rate limit. And again, these are all strategies, right? I think these, even though I have a pro plan, I think these are like little tweaks you're going to have to do as you work with AI and as these prices and rate limits and all these things kind of change, right? And I probably don't need the latest model. I could probably bump that down and like save a little bit there. But as I've been bumping into these over the last week, I'm going to have to figure that out. I mean, I'm willing to pay a little more, but I don't always bump up against it. I think it's just because I did some work this morning and now I'm trying to have it do a rather big task on stream. So anyway, thanks everybody who is still here for joining live. Sorry to the Twitter people that got cut off midstream, but you didn't really miss much because all we did was watch Claude turn and then me hit my rate limit. So see you all next week.